Thanks for joining us here on 13 Plus. I'm Alana, Holland. Today we're focusing on one of the most important organs in our body, the heart. Heart disease is the leading cause of death worldwide. One person dies every 33 seconds from cardiovascular disease. But here is some better news. There are things you can do to reduce your risk factor for heart disease. There's also a special tool you can use, CPR, to save someone's life after a cardiac arrest. And we'll teach you how to do it in this show. In this special, you'll hear from some amazing people who overcame heart disease in different ways. We'll also show you a concerning trend doctors are seeing, plus new medical technology right here in West Michigan. Well, first, I'm here with Julie Newhouse with the American Heart Association. And Julie, first of all, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is an important thing to be talking about. So why is heart health such an important thing to be talking about pretty much at any age?
It really is. You know, heart disease is the #1 killer of men and women. It kills more women than all forms of cancer combined. And they say only 45% of women know that. It's a startling statistic. But we really want to start having those conversations early on because most of heart disease is preventable if we're doing the right thing. So we really try to educate our youth on things they can do every single day to make sure they avoid heart disease as they grow older. And those adults, we want to talk to them as well about things that they can do every single day to make sure that they are going to live a healthy, long life.
You talked about this a little bit, but how does heart failure affect Americans?
It's the #1 killer. You know, 1 in 100 babies are born with a heart defect as well, and that's a startling statistic. And people really have different signs and symptoms for men and women. If you're struggling with heart disease or having a heart attack at times, those do look different. So it's always important to know if you are exhibiting any type of symptoms to call 911 and get the help you need.
Why is there a focus on women's heart health? Why is that important to talk about?
Because I think, like I mentioned, women are really unaware that that is their largest health threat. I think so many people think that it's breast cancer, and it's not. And I think also women are often busy taking care of the household, the kids, work, and they don't stop. And so many times people are exhibiting symptoms and they're like, gosh, I'm not feeling right, but there's more to it sometimes. And so just being aware, that awareness is so key.
And sometimes those symptoms can be different for women too, right?
Yes. For women, oftentimes if they're having a heart attack, they may feel nauseous, just maybe heavy in the chest, sometimes a little, you know, like it could be anxiety as well. And men usually have more of the, you know, the sharp pain in the chest, going down the arm, the jaw, but women don't often exhibit those symptoms. Oftentimes it's just nausea.
All right, so in that scenario, you know, after that scenario, let's talk about the importance of CPR.
Yes. So CPR, 9 out of 10 people that go into cardiac arrest die because people haven't reacted. And it is so important to make sure at least one person in every household knows the life-saving skill of hands-only CPR. We all have 2 hands, right? AEDs aren't often readily available, so we need to really make sure that we're administering hands-only CPR until help arrives.
When you're doing that CPR, what is it you're doing for a person?
We are circulating that oxygen throughout the body. So you can have somebody go into cardiac arrest, but within minutes, brain damage starts if you don't administer CPR. So we're really circulating that oxygen that is already in the lungs through the proper organs that need it. So when hopefully they do come back, that they're not going to have any long-term brain damage or anything.
So vitally important. Well, thank you so much, Julie, for joining us today. And stick around because just in a few minutes, she's going to give us a demonstration on how you can use hands-only CPR to save someone's life. So we know CPR can keep someone alive after a cardiac arrest, but women are less likely to receive CPR than men. I spoke to a woman who is thankful someone stepped up to save her life. An old French proverb says, gratitude is the memory of the heart.
Gratitude doesn't even scratch the surface.
But for Amy Swager,
I'm so blessed.
The memory of the heart is vast.
So it was December 5th.
Especially the memory of when it stopped.
I've also been very blessed with knowing what it's like to die.
In 2008, Amy was in a hair salon with her sister.
And while I was down there, I thought, oh, I'm going to be sick.
She began to walk into the bathroom.
I hit the floor outside of the restroom, and she kind of came over and she's like, "What is going on? Like, what are you doing?" And I wasn't breathing, and she thought, "Oh God, I'm gonna watch her die."
But her sister was not going to let that happen.
And they called 911 and she started chest compressions.
Her sister and later her mother kept her blood circulating with CPR until first responders arrived to shock her heart with an AED.
We still don't know what caused it to happen, but it was called a sudden cardiac arrest.
She had a pacemaker and defibrillator put in her chest.
It's an electrical problem, not a plumbing problem.
Now, more than 16 years later,
in the other room I have pictures of my grandkids.
Her heart is both beating.
Only one of them was born and I hadn't met him yet.
And full, all thanks to those around her knowing CPR.
I can't imagine the devastation my sister would have felt to just sit and watch and not know to do anything.
But Amy knows not everyone is as lucky.
A lot of times women don't get CPR because someone's afraid of putting their hands on her body. And I love the respect, I really do. But she's dead and she needs you.
And our research shows that 39% of them, only 39% of them receive CPR compared to 45% of men.
That's Caleb Porter with the American Heart Association. He says the concern about performing CPR on a woman should not prevent you from saving her life.
Call 911, push hard and fast in the center of the chest for 100 to 120 beats per minute.
Yep.
From a heart still beating.
My mom was a critical care nurse forever.
A thank you to the heart that saved hers.
She'd done CPR hundreds of times, but never on her daughter.
But one day stopped itself.
I lost my mom in May of 23. She had a stroke. She kept me going when my heart couldn't do it itself.
Amy now advocates for women's heart health and teaches CPR to high school students.
For every minute you go without that blood flow, your chances of survival drop by another 10%.
So if gratitude is the memory of the heart,
I've been able to travel. I got to go to New Orleans, which I loved, for Mardi Gras on my birthday.
Amy's has it in abundance.
To say that I'm fortunate and blessed is an understatement.
So we just saw how important it is to know CPR. Julie is back with us from the American Heart Association, and you're going to teach us how we can use hands-only CPR. That's why we're down here on the ground.
Yes, that's where we're on the ground.
Yes.
I am. So we are going to pretend that we
Yep.
came across somebody who was just laying on the ground.
Yeah.
We don't know the situation yet. We're going to go over and we're going to shake them. We're going to go, Annie, are you okay? Are you okay? Non-responsive.
They're not
We
okay.
didn't get anybody saying anything. We're going to call 911 right away. If you see a bystander, we're going to say, you come over here and help me. And so we hear that because CPR is so strenuous that you can only administer effective CPR for about 2 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
adrenaline is going to kick in if
Yeah.
you're by yourself. So anything that you can do is going to be more helpful than doing nothing at all. Because right now, if this person is in cardiac arrest, they are not going to survive because their heart is no longer beating. And so we have this person who came over and helped us.
Okay.
We've called 911. We have our phone sitting next to us on speaker.
Yep.
Sometimes people say, well, can you check for a pulse? And you could, but oftentimes our adrenaline is going to be going so fast that we may be feeling our own pulse.
Yes.
So if they're non-responsive after you shake them, we're going to go right into administering CPR.
Okay.
So the right way to do it, always make sure they're laying on a hard surface.
Okay.
If they're on a bed, you're going to want to roll them off the bed. You don't worry about them getting hurt because right now they're not living, correct? So they're on a hard surface. You're going to want to spread your legs a little bit, and you're going to want to put your shoulders over the victim, and you'll interlock your fingers.
Okay.
Either way, it doesn't matter. And you're going to want to administer CPR with this portion of your hand, kind of the heel of your hand. You're going to go into in between the nipples,
Okay.
and then right here in the center of the chest. Now, on these mannequins, you're going to want to make sure you're
turn it this way?
Yep, turn
Okay.
it this way. And with these, you're going to know if you're doing it effectively because your heel hear a click.
Okay.
A clicking sound. So I'll show you.
Yeah.
I have my body over the victim, and you're going to want to do this to the beat of staying alive. So
Perfect song
about
for
1
it.
in 100 beats per minute. Yes. Ignore that the face just came off here. That is this person. That won't happen.
The victim's face will not be coming
the
off.
The victim's face will not be coming off.
I like that you can be able to hear it, because I think that's what I would be worried about doing this in a real life scenario. Am I pushing hard enough?
Yes. So the depth, 2 to 3 inches. Also, when the AED arrives, so obviously we've called help. They're on their way. You do this until the AED arrives. You keep on doing CPR until you put the pads on the victim. They'll give a shock. It'll tell you everything you need to do, but even in between then, it'll tell you to continue administering CPR unless it detects a heartbeat.
Okay, so let me give it a shot.
Let's do it.
Let's do it together.
Yes.
So put it right, yes, and then you...
There you go.
Yeah,
you're clicking. You're doing it.
It's a lot harder than you would think it would.
It is. And 1 minute of this is a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's why you have your buddy with you if somebody is available. And so you would do this for a couple minutes, and then you would switch up.
Yeah.
And even if they don't know CPR, you can walk them through it. And that's the great thing, because it is easy to learn. Our goal is to have a community of lifesavers as opposed to bystanders, because so oftentimes people don't have the confidence to react. So that's what we're doing here today. People can learn, and then they can feel confident if they ever need to use it. Hopefully they won't.
Right. And you know, we didn't do this. We didn't have to do what we've seen maybe in old movies and things, blowing into their mouth. Let's talk about why we don't need to learn that anymore.
We have found that the science behind it, the survival rate isn't any higher with breaths versus non-breaths. And that because your lungs are already full of that oxygenated oxygen, that we're going to push that throughout the body as we're doing the compression. So you no longer have to do breaths at all with hands-only CPR.
Which is probably good, because I think that's might be what stops a lot of people from trying to do it. So it really is just push hard and fast
hard
on
and
their
fast
chest.
in the center of the chest to the beat of staying alive. The little kids will say baby shark shark for those who have little kids.
You know, that one might be easier to remember for me.
It's for you. Yes, I believe you have young kids. So that's also a different one. There's a whole playlist of songs if you need to remember. But
that's perfect.
Yes.
So, and you know, when you're pressing down too, and we've talked about this too, you might even break some bones, right? But that's a good thing in this scenario.
You know, that's one of the reasons we have these clickers too, because we often talk about, especially if you're administering CPR on an older victim who may be a little bit more frail, when you're pressing down a couple of inches, you're likely going to hear cracks. And we don't want that to deter you for administering CPR, because remember, if you do nothing, this will not be a positive outcome. The person is no longer going to be living. And so anything you can do is more helpful than doing nothing at all.
Should you worry about clothing at all, or just go right into it?
I would go right into CPR. As the AED arrives, you're going to have to take the clothing off of your victim. Females do have about 25% less response rate of getting CPR because of our anatomy. But there will be scissors in there that you can cut the bra off and remove our clothes. If you're administering CPR to somebody that has a hairy chest, there'll be a razor in there so you can shave their chest so their pads are in an area. So the AED is kind of foolproof. It really is. You turn on that button and it's going to walk you through exactly what you need to do as far as where to put the pads and what to do. And then in the meantime, you just keep on administering CPR.
Okay, I feel prepared now if I see somebody out in public, and I hope you all do too now that we just learned about this. It's so much easier than you think it would
so
be.
much easier, yes. And react. And one thing too, if you know somebody that's standing around, instead of saying call 911, you want to say you in the blue shirt, because everybody's going to think somebody got called, right?
That's a good point.
Be very specific, and you go get the AED. If you know their name, holler their name.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for
You're
explaining
welcome.
this. I hope everyone learned something and can save somebody's life if they come across it.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much. Still to come, a concerning trend for doctors. See why they say heart disease is trending younger. Plus, a mother diagnosed with heart disease at just 25 years old. See her inspiring story of survival and will to fight for her son. When you think of heart disease, you may think of someone in their 50s or even older. But trends are showing something concerning. Doctors and public health officials are noticing a trend of younger people being diagnosed with heart disease. In a Journal of American Medical Association study, not only is the overall mortality rate from heart failure 3% higher than 25 years ago, the increase in death rate was high among younger Americans. That's people younger than 45 who were 9 times more likely to die from heart failure. I spoke to the Vice President of Medical and Clinical Operations at Priority Health. That's Dr. David Rizutko. He said the trends skew even younger sometimes, people experiencing heart disease in their 20s and 30s. Why? He said the biggest contributing factor is lifestyle. People are living more sedentary and having poor nutrition in their diets, eating more processed food and fewer whole foods. Plus, high blood pressure is increasing.
We think about atherosclerotic disease typically when we talk about heart disease. Basically what that is the linings of the blood vessels that actually supply the heart muscle with blood can become either clogged or impaired. And that blood flow decrease to the heart muscle can cause heart attacks. We also see that through all the vessels of the body, including things like strokes. So that hardening of the arteries that's associated with high blood pressure is really the fundamental pathophysiologic change that's happening, but the downstream is heart attacks and strokes. It's one of those things where we want to be mindful of preventative care throughout all stages and ages of life, and because we are diagnosing high blood pressure a little bit earlier in the younger populations, focusing on that demographic is really a good idea.
So what to do? Focus on your health. Make sure at any age you're getting your preventative regular checkups with a clinician. Focus on heart-healthy diet. That's things high in fiber and low in fat. And make sure to get daily exercise, 30 minutes of good exertion about 5 times a week. Work to reduce stress and increase good sleep. And of course, quit tobacco use. Focusing on daily activity and healthy eating can actually decrease your risk of heart disease. A healthy lifestyle can reduce your blood pressure, which can often lead to heart disease later in life. I spoke to one West Michigan man who knew he had to make changes to his health. He dropped 70 pounds and no longer takes 12 medications, including one for pre-hypertension. He told me how he did it, all with just lifestyle changes.
It's not easy.
That was the unhealthier version of myself.
To look at this photo.
It's a reminder of what I'm not going back to.
Of Barry Hall a year ago.
So that was unhealthy me. I'm happy being a healthy version of me. So
the version of himself now,
I always prep for my day,
feels better.
Because if you don't have a plan, you get hungry, that's when you make poor choices.
A few years ago, Barry went to the doctor with COVID.
She said, hey, I don't know if you know this, but you are pre-diabetic and you have pre-hypertension. And I said, no, no one's ever told me that my entire life.
He was referred to lifestyle medicine at Corewell Health.
I had no idea. I just knew that it was another doctor's office.
A medical practice focusing on nutrition, physical activity, stress management, and other lifestyle changes to manage health.
And I was going for about 6 months, lost a little bit of weight, but then life happened. Then I stopped going.
This past May.
And when I went back, I actually had diabetes. It wasn't pre anymore. I had hypertension. I was taking 10 plus medications. I weighed 308 pounds. I was in a 3XL.
Barry knew it was time for a change.
And I told myself that this time I'm not going to quit on myself.
Yeah, Barry is such a unique and inspiring person.
That's his lifestyle medicine doctor, Christy Arts.
It's not alternative or complementary medicine. It's truly evidence-based medicine.
She explains lifestyle medicine is not a weight loss program, but weight loss is often one of the results. One Barry saw losing 70 pounds in a little more than 6 months. But the changes were so much more.
Currently, right now, I don't take a single medication. I haven't had any knee pains from my arthritis. I sleep so much better. My life has completely changed just because I've been able to make those lifestyle changes.
What we know about chronic disease is that poor dietary quality is the single greatest risk factor for most of our chronic diseases.
Now with the tools, the stamina, and the motivation,
I can breathe like there's a weight off my chest.
Barry is feeling better than ever before.
And if I can do it, I guarantee anybody else can do it as well too.
Sometimes heart disease can be diagnosed with no increased risk or family history. One woman was just 25 years old when she discovered she had heart failure. Meet Melly and see her inspiring story to fight for both her life and her son's.
Kid.
Moms are superheroes.
Yeah.
Melly Del Carmen Honer
We have the controller and the 2 battery packs.
just happens to be Iron Man.
I jokingly tell myself that I'm the cyborg girl.
This device, an LVAD, is doing the work to pump her heart.
I'm half human and half, I don't want to say robot, but just have a mechanical device helping me stay alive.
3 years ago, she had just given birth to her son, Rowan.
I started to notice some chest pains.
At 25 years old, her doctor told her this.
You have cardiomyopathy. And I looked at her like, are you serious? Like, this is more for older people.
She had heart failure.
Dr. Milena Yanni at Corewell Health.
Rare, but it is a terrible complication that can happen from pregnancy.
Living with a failing heart,
I would tell myself, why does God hate me so much?
is not easy as a young mom.
You can't pick up no more than 5 pounds to 10 pounds. And as Rowan was growing, I wasn't allowed to take care of him myself. As time went on, I got sicker and sicker.
Not a candidate for a heart transplant, Millie's doctors needed to act fast.
They said if we wait till Monday, she's a goner.
They scheduled the surgery for the LVAD right away.
Because I know my mom was on the other side of that door. All I could think was, I know she's crying. I know she's crying. Because she can't see her own daughter suffer. And I gotta do this for her and my family and my son.
She was sedated after surgery for 3 weeks.
I almost didn't make it.
But time has its own powers.
We went from almost dying to a miracle.
But Mellie's real superpower, determination.
I wasn't gonna sleep till I took him in to find out that he had heart problems.
A power that may have saved her son's life.
The doctor told me that he had mild systolic dysfunction.
Little Rowan,
on his left side,
also facing a heart condition.
I cried. I said, this cannot be happening again.
Heart disease does not discriminate. You can be young, you can be postpartum, you can be of a certain background, and heart disease can still affect you.
Rowan is on medication, and they're monitoring his heart for now.
I don't feel guilty knowing that he has a heart condition, and I blew it off and never took him in.
Iron Woman or just a mom.
Not a superhero, I guess.
Whatever hero you call her, Mellie might not believe you. But her doctors, family, and her son know the truth.
Showing to her son and her family that there is no obstacle a woman cannot cross and succeed.
I got this done so I could take care of you as the mother that I'm supposed to be.
Now, Mellie is not a good candidate for a heart transplant because Dr. Yanni explains often when women give birth, their immune system is highly sensitized. Any heart Mellie would receive would be rejected by her body. It could possibly be in the future, but for now, she's living with her heart not on her sleeve, but in her bag. There's still more to come, including a new advancement in pacemaker technology right here in West Michigan. Plus, how a Griffin super fan and heart transplant survivor got a surprise of a lifetime. A Grand Rapids hospital is being recognized as a center of excellence for a particular heart surgery. It's one of only 24 hospitals across the nation. I spoke to the surgeon and a patient who had this surgery.
My problem started 5 years ago.
That's when Charles Girolami knew something was wrong with his heart.
Okay.
His doctors found a heart murmur. Then the Kalamazoo area resident met with the heart team from Corewell Health in Grand Rapids.
Keeping an eye on it.
2 years ago, things changed while on a trip to Arizona.
I swelled up with water and went to the hospital, and that's when they discovered the leaky valve. So
his leaky valve continued to get worse, and he scheduled a mitral valve repair surgery with Dr. Edward Murphy.
If the valve is severely leaky, the only way the heart can accommodate that over time is by becoming more and more stretched out. And a heart that's stretched beyond its normal size doesn't work as well.
But Charles almost canceled his procedure here in West Michigan.
I have a son that worked at Mayo Clinic in the heart unit. He wanted us to come over there to have the surgery.
Ultimately,
I wanted to recover at home.
Charles had open heart surgery at Corewell Health.
And I had 2 leaky valves plus a hole in my heart. that was repaired.
Dr. Murphy explains the mitral valve repair is often a difficult procedure.
So it's nestled in the middle of the heart and has a very complex function. Many things can go wrong with it, and so it requires special expertise to be able to repair it.
Which is why he was happy to hear the hospital was recognized by the Mitral Foundation with a Mitral Valve Repair Reference Center Award.
It's terrific to have that kind of recognition for what we've been accomplishing here for many years, which is performing all aspects of open heart surgery, including mitral valve surgery, at a level that's so high performing that patients don't have to leave here to go anywhere else in the country.
After his surgery, Charles has had no complications and says he has more energy than ever before.
I can run upstairs and downstairs without getting out of breath. My life's changed 100%.
There are what doctors called rigorous criteria for this award. It looks at mortality and durability outcomes for patients who have had mitral valve surgery. To be qualified, centers must perform at least 50 mitral valve repair procedures in the most recent year, among other guidelines. Patients who need pacemakers have a new option now here in West Michigan. Trinity Health Muskegon was the first hospital in West Michigan to implant the new device. It's a game changer for many with slow or abnormal heart rhythms, and it's smaller than a AAA battery. What makes this different is it's the world's first dual-chamber leadless pacemaker approved by the FDA. That means it's minimally invasive for those who need pacing in 2 chambers of the heart. The device is called a VR and is made by Abbott. Traditional pacemakers have things called leads, or thin, flexible wires that carry electrical pulses from a pacemaker to a heart. They need replacing every 10 to 15 years. This leadless device is a better option for many patients.
Devices are pretty small. They're about the size of a bullet. And you get one in the right ventricle. And nowadays you can also put one in the right atrium. That's this new device. And so you can avoid these lead-related complications. And these devices are engineered to be extracted. So you can take them out 10 years down the road when the battery dies and replace it with a new one and not have to worry about leaving hardware in the body after the battery dies. So it's an exciting new technology.
There is also a shorter recovery time after implanting the new pacemaker. However, it's not ideal for those who also need a defibrillator. So ask your cardiologist if you think this is something that could work for you. One woman, a huge Grand Rapids Griffins fan, discovered she had a heart failure last year. I spoke to her as she tells me her story from heart failure to heart transplant. Plus, there's a few surprises from her favorite team throughout.
When Tracy Meyer wanted some luck, she'd turn to a stick and a puck.
I love the Griffins. In some of my darkest times, I'd go to the game and it made me feel good to be at the game and stuff.
But luck,
I've been through a lot,
didn't always feel on Tracy's side.
to find out that I was having heart failure. Scared.
The 2-time cancer survivor went to her doctor with shortness of breath in 2023. She was sent right to the hospital with heart failure.
I was shocked.
Weeks later, she had surgery to install a heart pump.
I was approved on the heart transplant list in April.
Meanwhile,
So they said, whenever your phone rings, you need to pick it up.
Lady Luck on the line, but for something else.
All the entries, and they chose mine.
She won a fan flyaway giveaway for a Griffins game in Chicago.
But I said to myself and to others that if it was meant to be, I will get the call for a heart before I leave for Griffins.
As luck would have it,
Sure enough, Tuesday before I thought, well, I was supposed to go to the Griffins flyaway thing, I got a call from Corwell saying that I got the heart.
So what I would say for Tracy is that she was meant to get a heart transplant.
So I had to call Griffins and say, sorry, but I can't go to the game.
the Griffins more than made it up to her.
2 weeks post-transplant, Bob and a couple players came and saw me in the hospital.
We love Philip Zadina.
It's amazing what you have to do to get a jersey.
10 months post-heart transplant.
I've been doing great.
She's back cheering on her Griffs,
Group hug after, we'll do.
who continue to cheer for her right back.
You might be dropping the puck.
Can't even
imagine, you know, what she's been through, the toughness, especially in everything, emotional strength.
Or hearing that she's a huge Griffins fan is just like, it's just kind of crazy. It's just now that we're kind of like fans of her.
Some people call it luck.
Yeah.
Tracy would call it a sacrifice. As much as she loves her Griffins, Tracy has a new hero in her life.
She made the selfless decision to be a donor, to help someone like me.
1 year after transplant, Tracy can write a letter to her donor's family if she wants.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Thanking her for the hat trick of luck.
I want to tell them how grateful I am to give me another chapter in my life that I didn't think I'd be able to have.
And we were there when Tracy dropped the puck at the Grand Rapids Griffins game. Take a look. Less than 1 year after receiving a heart transplant, Tracy Meyer dropped the puck at a game at the Van Andel Arena. And boy, was it a night to remember. Thanks so much for joining us for this special edition of Healthy You, the Heart of Health. Look for more health specials in the future and check out more content here on 13+. We have weekly shows on crime, court, and politics across West Michigan in On the Docket and The Rundown. Plus other specials highlighting the 13 Health Team, More Than a Number campaign, and Something Special series. All that and much more is streaming right now on 13+. Download on your TV and watch for free.